Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. Wine doesn't shout its presence. It waits, and the world bends to its timing. That's the strange magic we're stepping into today. Studies show that the longer wine is allowed to breathe, the more complex and unforgettable its taste becomes. Strangely enough, Sigma females carry the same effect. They don't rush, they don't dilute, and they don't serve themselves up like fast food. Instead, they let time and silence do the work, turning ordinary encounters into something haunting, something that lingers long after they've left. And here's the kicker. Most people don't even realize they've been drinking from her presence until it's too late. They're already intoxicated. That's the wine effect every Sigma female should know. And trust me, this isn't about sipping politely. It's about the kind of impact that stains memory like a stubborn red on white silk. Now, pour yourself a glass because this is going to get rich, bold, and just a little dangerous without the hangover. Number 1. Her legacy is in aftertaste, not the first sip. Her legacy is in the aftertaste, not the first sip. That's the truth most people never understand about a Sigma female. She isn't designed to hit you like a sparkler the moment she walks into a room. She doesn't come with fireworks, confetti, or loud declarations of who she is. In fact, you might even underestimate her at first. You might think she's just another quiet face blending into the noise. But that's where the mistake happens. Because the first sip is never the full story. The real impact of a Sigma female comes later, when the moment has passed and you find yourself haunted by her presence. Something she said, or didn't say, replays in your head. The way she carried herself without trying, the calm in her silence, the refusal to bend, those things start echoing. And it doesn't stop. Days later, weeks later, you're still thinking about her. That's the aftertaste. It creeps in when the noise of everything else has died down. People who crave constant attention rarely understand this kind of power. They want to be unforgettable by being loud, by leaving a spectacle behind. But the Sigma female knows that kind of impact fades. The crowd forgets the performer once the lights go out. Her strength is that she doesn't need the lights in the first place. She doesn't need anyone's stage. Her presence lingers without effort, and it lingers in a way people can't scrub out. And here's the brutal part. Her aftertaste exposes people. If you can't handle honesty, if her refusal to be fake rattles you, the memory of her will irritate like a splinter you can't pull out. But if you're the kind who secretly longs for authenticity, her presence will stick like the richest flavor you never knew you craved. Either way, no one walks away neutral. That's why she doesn't worry about first impressions. First impressions fade. Her power is in the echo. She's not unforgettable because she tries to be. She's unforgettable because her essence doesn't wash away. Long after she's gone, the room feels emptier, conversations feel thinner, and people find themselves craving another taste they may never get again. That is the wine effect at its sharpest. Number 2, she understands the power of rarity without flaunting it. She understands the power of rarity without ever needing to flaunt it. There's no announcement, no spotlight, no self-promotion. She doesn't need to tell anyone she's extraordinary. Most people go through life trying to prove their worth, posting achievements, bragging about experiences, or screaming for recognition. A Sigma female doesn't. Her presence alone carries the weight of her uniqueness, and that's far more potent than any declaration. She moves through the world like a rare vintage quietly aging in a hidden cellar. You don't see her flaunting her depth, but the moment you encounter her, you notice it. It's in the subtlety of her actions, the way she listens with intent, the precision of her words, the calm confidence in the space she occupies. People around her sense it almost instinctively, even if they can't put a finger on why. They feel the contrast between her and the crowd, the distinction that sets her apart. And here's the brutal honesty. Most people aren't prepared for it. They're used to value being shouted from rooftops, so when it's silent, they underestimate it. That's her advantage. She doesn't need validation. She doesn't chase approval. Her rarity is self-contained, and it's infectious in the best way. Those who are attuned to it are drawn in naturally, recognizing that they're in the presence of someone whose worth is inherent, not performative. The beauty of this is that she doesn't diminish her value by making it obvious. Like the finest wine, her essence reveals itself slowly, subtly, over time. People can't measure it instantly, and that's intentional. The intrigue grows. They remember her in moments of quiet reflection, in the gaps left behind after she's gone. She doesn't need to scream her power because her rarity speaks for itself, and that whisper echoes far longer than any boast ever could. Her value isn't a headline. It's an undercurrent, an invisible force, an aftertaste that lingers in ways people can't easily forget. And that is the quiet, devastating brilliance of understanding the power of being rare without ever flaunting it. Number 3. She's not consumed, she's experienced. She's not consumed, she's experienced. That's a distinction most people don't understand because they've been trained to think in terms of possession. They want to have people, to own them, to reduce them to something manageable, something they can control. A Sigma female doesn't operate in that world. She isn't a prize to be won or a chapter to be closed. She's an event, a memory, a force that leaves an imprint long after she's gone. Interacting with her isn't about checking a box or adding another name to a list. It's about engaging with depth, energy, and presence that refuses to be trivialized. She doesn't give herself away in bits and pieces. She offers the fullness of her essence, and that makes her unforgettable. People who encounter her carry the weight of that experience. It seeps into their thoughts, reshapes their perspective, and leaves them quietly obsessed with trying to understand it without ever fully capturing it. That's why she cannot be consumed in the traditional sense. She isn't a fleeting thrill or a simple pleasure. People who try to possess her, who approach her expecting control, quickly find themselves outmatched. Her essence is too rich, too layered, too alive. She leaves an impression like the final notes of a symphony. Powerful, lingering, impossible to erase. You can't replay her or recreate the encounter exactly the same way. Each experience with her is singular, unique, and permanent in its impact. And here's the unspoken truth. She doesn't need anyone to remember her. She doesn't exist for validation, but the world does. She shapes moments, not possessions. She transforms experiences into memories that haunt, inspire, and teach, and people find themselves craving another encounter they can never fully replicate. That's the intoxicating brilliance of a Sigma female. She's not something to own, she's something to live through. The difference between consuming her and experiencing her is the difference between a cheap imitation and a rare masterpiece. One fades quickly, the other lingers for a lifetime. And she knows it. She thrives in it. She leaves a mark without ever asking for acknowledgement. And that is why people never forget her, not because they possessed her, but because they truly experienced her. Number 4. She's a test of character. She's a test of character. Interacting with her isn't just a social exchange. It's a mirror that reflects the very core of who you are. A Sigma female doesn't bend herself to fit your expectations, and she doesn't dilute her presence to make you comfortable. She moves through life with a quiet integrity and uncompromising authenticity, and the way people respond to that reveals everything about them. Some can't handle her. They try to control her, manipulate her, or fit her into the narrow boxes they've built for the world. Their discomfort shows in impatience, irritation, or condescension. They push, they plead, they attempt to fracture her calm, and when they fail, they reject her. They spit her out, not because she did anything wrong, but because her strength exposes their weaknesses. Her presence uncovers the cracks in their character, the insecurities, the selfishness, the shallow thinking. And there's nothing she needs to do. Her authenticity is enough to make them reveal themselves. Others rise to the occasion. They recognize that she doesn't exist for their convenience. They understand the depth, the rare intelligence, the uncompromising essence she carries. These are the people who finally realize they've tasted something extraordinary, something that cannot be replicated or possessed. They approach her with respect, curiosity, and humility, not because they are trying to impress her, but because they genuinely comprehend the caliber of the presence before them. With them, the connection isn't about consumption or conquest, it's about resonance. The Sigma female's brilliance lies in this unspoken test. She doesn't set out to judge, she simply exists in her full truth. And in doing so, she exposes the truth of others. She's a living litmus test for authenticity, patience, emotional maturity, and courage. Her value isn't just in who she is, but in what she reveals about everyone around her. Some people walk away bitter, unable to handle what they've encountered. Others emerge changed, grateful, awakened to the reality that they've engaged with the real thing. And in every case, the lesson is unavoidable. Meeting a Sigma female is never neutral. It's an encounter that demands honesty, integrity, and a capacity for depth. Number 5, her silence ages. Like a vintage bottle. Her silence ages like a vintage bottle. It's not empty, it's potent. Every word she chooses to speak is measured, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. She doesn't rush to fill the air with chatter or explanations. Most people mistake quiet for weakness, but with her, it's anything but. Each pause, each carefully chosen phrase carries weight, and the impact grows over time. When she speaks, it lingers. People don't just hear her words, they feel them long after the conversation is over. A single comment, a small observation, a quiet correction, these echo in the minds of those around her. They replay her sentences again and again, analyzing them, trying to unpack the layers. Her words aren't fleeting. They settle into memory like a wine whose flavor develops long after the sip is swallowed. Her silence isn't passive. It's a tool, a weapon, a shield, and a signature all at once. She forces the world to lean in, to pay attention, not by shouting or performing, but by withholding. People find themselves waiting, anticipating, almost addicted to what she might say next. The mystery becomes a force of gravity, pulling them deeper into her orbit. And there's a subtle brilliance in the fact that her silence ages. Unlike those who speak endlessly and fade into background noise, she grows stronger over time. The fewer words she gives, the more profound their effect. Each encounter with her builds on the last, layering complexity and depth that people cannot easily forget. By the time they think they understand her, the aftertaste has already begun, a haunting, undeniable impression that lingers longer than they expect. Her silence teaches patience, respect, and attentiveness. It separates the superficial from the discerning, revealing who is truly capable of appreciating her. She doesn't need to explain herself. The passage of time does that work for her. And in a world obsessed with noise, attention, and instant gratification, the power of her measured words becomes nothing short of intoxicating. Her silence ages like a vintage bottle because, in the end, it's not about the first sip. It's about how the flavor unfolds, deepens, and refuses to be forgotten. Number 6. She doesn't seduce, she ferments. She doesn't seduce, she ferments. Her presence doesn't demand immediate attention or admiration. It doesn't flash or sparkle or hit like a firework. Instead, it simmers quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the spaces around her. You don't notice it at first. You might even think she's ordinary or unremarkable. But over time, something changes. Interactions with her start to feel heavier, richer, more complex. Her influence isn't in the instant thrill, it's in the slow, undeniable effect she leaves behind. She operates like a master vintner. The initial encounter is subtle, even understated, but the essence of her presence deepens as the days go by. Her words, her gestures, her very energy begin to ferment in the minds of those around her. People find themselves remembering details they didn't think mattered, replaying moments they dismissed, realizing there was a depth there all along. Ordinary exchanges turn into lessons, reflections, and memories that leave a lasting impression. Her power isn't obvious, and that's intentional. She doesn't need to prove herself or perform for validation. She understands that true impact isn't immediate. It develops slowly, gaining strength, leaving traces long after she's gone. Those who underestimate her at first are often the ones most affected by her presence later. The fermenting effect catches them off guard, making her unforgettable without her ever having to try. And the beauty of this is that it can't be rushed. You can't speed up the process or force her influence. It takes time, patience, and awareness to fully grasp what she brings into the world. Those who pay attention and appreciate it find themselves changed subtly, without even realizing when it happened. Her allure ferments because she doesn't give herself away too quickly. She leaves layers to be discovered, hidden notes that only reveal themselves gradually. That's the intoxicating brilliance of a Sigma female. She doesn't seduce in the way most expect, but the effect she leaves lingers longer, deepens over time, and becomes something you carry with you long after she's gone. Number 7. People underestimate her until they're drunk on her presence. People underestimate her until they're drunk on her presence. At first glance, she might seem quiet, reserved, maybe even ordinary. She doesn't demand attention or try to impress anyone. In fact, many dismiss her, thinking she's just another face in the crowd, someone easy to overlook. That's the mistake most people make. She's far more formidable than anyone realizes. Her true power doesn't reveal itself immediately. It unfolds slowly, like a fine wine opening its bouquet after days of careful aging. The longer someone spends around her, the more her presence sinks in, subtly altering the atmosphere without a single dramatic gesture. People start noticing the details they initially ignored, the way she carries herself, the precision of her words, the calm confidence in her silence. It's not forceful, it's infectious. Before they even realize it, they're captivated. They're drawn in, not by charm or performance, but by authenticity and depth. Her presence intoxicates because it's rare, genuine, and unwavering. It seeps into the space around her, shaping interactions in ways that feel both subtle and unavoidable. Those who underestimated her initially can't help but be affected. They replay moments with her in their minds, analyzing the quiet impact she left, questioning why she's suddenly so unforgettable. And here's the subtle brilliance. She never tries to manipulate or seduce. She doesn't perform to be noticed or validate her power. She simply exists, fully and unapologetically. That's what makes her influence so potent. The intoxication is organic, not manufactured. By the time people realize it, they're already captivated, drunk on her presence without even knowing when it happened. What seemed like a forgettable encounter has fermented into something far stronger, leaving a lingering impression that's hard to shake. People leave changed, unable to dismiss her, unable to reduce her to a first impression. She's underestimated at first because the world doesn't recognize the power of subtlety and patience. But once it hits, it's unavoidable. Her presence intoxicates, lingers, and imprints itself on those around her, proving that true power isn't always loud. It's the kind that seeps in quietly, leaving people yearning for more long after she's gone. Number 8. She controls timing like a sommelier. She controls timing like a sommelier. Every word she speaks, every glance she offers is measured with precision. She doesn't rush to give herself away, and she doesn't scatter her energy indiscriminately. Instead, she knows exactly when to show up, when to step back, and when to let the moment breathe. That careful calibration makes her presence unforgettable, not because she's always there, but because she chooses the moments when she matters most. Most people think influence comes from constant availability, from always being present and pouring themselves into every interaction. She knows the opposite is true. By withholding herself strategically, she creates gravity. People notice when she's absent, they feel the space she leaves behind, and when she finally reappears, her impact is magnified. The subtlety of her timing makes everything she does feel significant, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. It's not manipulation in the cheap sense. It's mastery. She isn't playing games. She's orchestrating moments like a sommelier pairing the right wine with the perfect course. Attention given too early or too often loses its value. But when she chooses the exact moment to engage, to speak, or to act, it resonates deeply. People remember it. They feel it. They replay it in their minds long after she's moved on. Her timing also protects her. By controlling the flow of her attention, she ensures she isn't drained by the demands of others. She remains enigmatic, composed, and in control, a presence that isn't easily taken for granted or consumed. People come to learn that her power doesn't lie in constant proximity. It lies in knowing exactly when to appear and when to recede, letting the world adjust to her rhythm rather than the other way around. And the effect is intoxicating. The longer someone spends observing her, the more they realize that every interaction, every subtle gesture, every pause is intentional. Nothing is wasted. That mastery of timing, so subtle yet profound, ensures she's never forgettable. Her presence lingers in memory, not because she demanded it, but because she chose to make it matter. Number 9, her value doesn't expire, it intensifies. Her value doesn't expire, it intensifies. Time doesn't weaken her, it sharpens her, molds her, and deepens her presence. While most people peak early and fade as the years go by, she only grows stronger, more formidable, more unforgettable. Every challenge she's faced, every scar she carries, every lesson she's learned adds layers to her essence, like the finest wine aging in a carefully tended barrel. She reinvents herself continuously, not because she seeks attention, but because growth is her instinct. Each transformation refines her flavor, making her more nuanced, more intriguing, more impossible to categorize. People who meet her early in life might think they understand her, only to realize years later that they had only glimpsed the surface. With every passing season, her depth expands, her energy becomes richer, and her impact becomes harder to ignore. Her strength isn't loud or performative. It doesn't announce itself in flashy displays or desperate attempts to be admired. It is steady, undeniable, and accumulative. The experiences that would break others only add complexity to her. The struggles she endures aren't detours. They are ingredients that enhance the essence of who she is. Every setback becomes a seasoning, every victory a note in a symphony that continues to evolve over time. People are often surprised when they encounter her at a later stage in life. What they once overlooked now commands attention. What they underestimated now overwhelms expectation. Her presence carries the weight of experience, the subtle power of lessons hard-earned, and the quiet confidence of someone who knows that her worth cannot be measured by age or circumstance. Her value doesn't merely persist, it intensifies. The passage of time doesn't erode her power, it distills it. She becomes rarer, more layered, and more intoxicating with every chapter she lives. To experience her is to realize that true greatness doesn't fade, it accumulates, like a vintage that only grows richer with each passing year. Her legacy isn't in fleeting impressions, it is in the enduring, evolving force she leaves behind, impossible to diminish, impossible to forget. Number 10. She is rare, not limited edition. She is rare, not limited edition. Her power doesn't come from scarcity or from hiding herself to be chased. It comes from the unshakable refusal to dilute who she is for anyone or anything. She doesn't conform, compromise, or cater to the comfort of others just to be liked or accepted. That integrity preserves her essence, keeps it pure, and gives her a presence that cannot be manufactured or replicated. Most people mistake rarity for scarcity. They assume that being hard to reach or deliberately absent creates value. She proves the opposite. Her rarity isn't about being unreachable. It's about being fully herself in a world that pressures everyone to water themselves down. She refuses to shrink her depth, her intensity, or her truth to fit someone else's expectations. That alone makes her unforgettable. People notice it instinctively, even if they can't put their finger on why. Every interaction with her is a glimpse of something authentic and unfiltered. She doesn't bend to please. She doesn't perform to impress. That purity creates gravity. Those who are attuned to her frequency are drawn in naturally. Those who can't handle it drift away, unable to match the caliber of her essence. Her power doesn't come from forcing attention. It comes from simply existing fully, refusing to compromise, and letting the world adjust to her presence rather than the other way around. She is rare because she refuses dilution, not because she hides herself. That distinction makes all the difference. She doesn't need validation or applause. Her value is inherent, and her authenticity is magnetic. People remember her not because they captured her or possessed her, but because she revealed a level of clarity, strength, and presence that cannot be duplicated. In a society obsessed with access and availability, she remains a constant reminder that true power lies in preservation, not performance. Her rarity isn't an accident, it's a choice, a deliberate, uncompromising refusal to be anything less than herself. And that is why she commands attention without demanding it, leaves impact without effort, and becomes unforgettable not through scarcity but through absolute authenticity. Number 11. She knows some palates can't handle her strength. She knows some palates can't handle her strength. Not everyone is built to experience her fully, and she doesn't apologize for it. Her depth, her intensity, her presence, these are not diluted for the comfort of others. People who are shallow, insecure, or emotionally unprepared will often recoil, struggling to comprehend the force she carries. They might dismiss her, criticize her, or try to tame her energy, but their inability to handle her strength is their limitation, not hers. She understands that her power is not meant for everyone, and that clarity allows her to move through the world without frustration or need for validation. The ones who can't appreciate her depth are meant to fall away naturally. Their resistance doesn't diminish her. It simply highlights the selectivity of those worthy of her presence. She doesn't chase approval or try to soften her edges to be palatable. She remains fully herself, unshaken by the discomfort she may provoke. For those who can handle her, the experience is transformative. They savor her presence with the same reverence a connoisseur gives to a rare vintage. They notice the layers, the complexity, the subtle notes of brilliance that unfold over time. They understand that engaging with her requires attention, respect, and patience. And because so few can rise to that standard, their connection with her becomes rare, valuable, and unforgettable. Her strength exposes weakness and rewards discernment. She doesn't punish the unprepared, but her intensity will overwhelm them naturally. In that way, she is a filter, a force that reveals who is capable of understanding her and who isn't. She doesn't need to explain herself or make excuses for her power. It simply exists, and it commands recognition in those who are capable of recognizing it. She knows her strength is her gift and her test. Some choke on it, others flourish. And through it all, she remains unshakable, uncompromising, and unforgettable. Her power isn't in bending to accommodate the unready, it's in existing fully and letting the world adjust, one capable soul at a time. Number 12. She doesn't pair with everyone. She doesn't pair with everyone. Her energy is precise, rare, and unapologetically uncompromising, and she knows instinctively where it belongs and where it doesn't. Just like a fine wine can ruin a meal if paired incorrectly, her presence doesn't fit every environment, every circle, or every interaction. She doesn't force herself to blend in or compromise her essence for the comfort of others. If the setting isn't right, she simply withdraws, conserving her energy and maintaining the integrity of her presence. Most people try to be everywhere, to please everyone, or to make themselves compatible with every situation. She knows that doing so dilutes power. Her brilliance lies in her selectivity. She observes, assesses, and chooses where she invests herself. She doesn't apologize for her discernment, nor does she feel the need to explain why she steps back. To her, mismatched spaces aren't failures. They're opportunities to preserve her strength and impact for the right moments and the right people. Those who encounter her in the right setting recognize it immediately. Her presence resonates, amplifies, and elevates the environment. It feels natural, magnetic, and unforgettable. But when she senses a clash, she doesn't linger or bend to fit in. She simply moves on, leaving the mismatch behind and often exposing the limitations or superficiality of those who cannot match her energy. This is part of her power. She cannot be diluted, tamed, or forced. Her selectivity ensures that every interaction, every presence, every moment she engages is meaningful, potent, and memorable. People who are attuned to her energy feel it deeply, understanding that not being included isn't rejection, it's protection of something rare, refined, and unreplicable. She doesn't pair with everyone because she doesn't need to. Her impact doesn't come from being ubiquitous. It comes from being precise, deliberate, and unforgettable in the spaces that truly matter. That understanding, the refusal to settle or dilute herself, ensures that her influence is always potent and her presence always remembered. In the end, the wine effect isn't about performance, attention, or fleeting impressions. It's about presence, depth, and the quiet, unshakable power that comes from authenticity, patience, and selectivity. A Sigma female doesn't chase validation or dilute herself to fit in. She ferments, she ages, she decants, and she refines. Every word, every glance, every pause leaves a mark long after she's gone. She doesn't seduce, she doesn't perform, she doesn't compromise. She exists fully, and in doing so, She teaches the world how to notice what truly matters. Her strength lies in restraint, her value grows with time, and her rarity commands respect without demanding it. Some will falter, unable to handle the depth she carries. Others will rise, humbled and transformed by the experience of her presence. And that is the brilliance of the wine effect. It doesn't announce itself. It leaves a lingering, unforgettable aftertaste that changes everyone who crosses her path. She isn't consumed, she's experienced. She isn't diluted, she's preserved. She isn't fleeting, she's eternal in memory and impact. If you've felt the pull of this energy, if you've recognized the subtle power in patience, timing, and authenticity, you understand the rare brilliance of a Sigma female. And now it's time to bring this understanding into the world. If this resonated with you, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Share this with someone who needs to see it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights into power, presence, and the art of being unforgettable. Every view, every share, and every subscription fuels the conversation about mastering your essence. So join the movement and step into the power of the wine effect yourself.